Good day, everybody. We are going to talk about illusions in Of Mice and Men. And this is really important, especially after chapter 5, to now see okay, where does this title come from? And that's the important part about this. So, we're going to look at illusions. We're going to analyze that state standard, analyze how the author alludes to and transforms source material in a specific work. And it's really rather brilliant what Steinbeck does here. I want to go over this. Make sure you're paying attention. Any questions you might have, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. So allusions are just references within a work to something famous outside it. It could be a well-known person, a place, an event, pop culture reference, work of art, literature, music, but it sort of either alludes directly or indirectly to something. The purpose, it lets the reader understand some sort of new information. It can give you some insight into the idea of plot and or theme. Think about theme too. Setting, it connects things to something you already know. So I think this is a good little way to see it here. I like this video here, so let's watch this together.
As kids, most of us grew up watching, and let's face it, rewatching, our favorite Disney movies. Whether you loved the princesses, the animals, the heroes, or the Pixar films, we can all agree these movies are great because they're full of heart, magic, and illusions. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start over. Hold on, way too far. How about this? Watch these clips from popular Disney movies to see what they have in common.
That soft light through yonder window breaks.
Romeo, oh Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
I can take off my head to recite Shakespearean quotations.
Started talking to the pictures on the walls. Hang in there, Joe.
Caesar salad and new potato.
Each of these clips is an example of illusion. But what is illusion, you ask? Well, illusion is a brief and indirect reference to something of historical, cultural, literary, or political significance. We encounter illusion every single day in the books we read and the TV shows or movies that we watch. So looking at one of our previous examples more closely, when Jack Skellington sings about quoting Shakespeare while holding his skull, he is, more specifically, referencing this famous scene from Hamlet. In literature, some of the more common sources writers allude to are mythology, religion, literature, especially Shakespeare, and pop culture. So at this point, you might be asking yourself,
Why should I worry? Why should I pay?
so we know what illusions are, but why do we use them? Why is it important to know about them? Whenever someone makes an illusion, they invoke the ideas and emotions associated with the original source. It gets a point across in a more creative way that can often take less time than explaining the whole idea from scratch. So, for example, if someone were to say, I'm surprised his nose didn't grow like Pinocchio's, you understand what the speaker really means if you are familiar with the story of Pinocchio. His nose only grows when he lies, and so the subject of the sentence must also be lying. Our understanding is enhanced by the illusion. Another common way authors use illusion is when naming their characters. A really great example of this is in Disney's The Aristocats. The three kittens are not just cute and fluffy, they are named after famous figures from French history. The musical Black Kitten, Berlioz, is named after the famous French composer Hector Berlioz. The autistic ginger kitten, Toulouse, is named after the famous French artist Toulouse-Lautrec. And finally, the fancy white kitten, Marie, is named after France's most famous queen, Marie Antoinette. The filmmakers want us to associate the kittens with the historical and cultural figures they're named after. So these allusions help us to understand each kitten's personality and talents and little So, what if you don't know anything about French history? What if you have no idea what an allusion is referencing? What if you just don't get it? Well, the word allusion comes from the Latin word for to play with or jest. Think of allusion as an inside joke. If you understand, great. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Disney movies are full of allusions that went over your head as a kid. You didn't enjoy these movies any less just because you didn't understand the reference. Think about allusions in literature the same way. If you think an author is making an allusion you don't understand, look it up. And if you don't notice it at all, you can still understand the work without it. Just keep an eye out. Fine.
Oh, sorry. Let's get this out of here. I messed that one up. All right. As you can tell in looking at this, all right. Let me get this out of full screen. I'm butchering this right now. Okay, there we go. Sorry. As you can tell, you can still understand a work without understanding the allusions, but the allusions can really add depth to it, and that's what Steinbeck does in this story. So, and again, allusion. It's not an illusion. It's not a trick that a musician does. Like, oh, I'm going to make this disappear. That's an illusion. They're just not. Allusions are not references to someone or something only a small group of people know. So you wouldn't say Sally's smile looked like my mom's smile. Well, I mean, that's just not many people are going to know Sally's mom's smile, or so it's not going to know that comparison. So it's got to be something outside of your community, something well known, okay, throughout history. So as we're looking through things, keep that in mind. Steinbeck doesn't have many allusions in his thing, but in order to understand them, it's good to have a grasp of certain things in pop culture and literature. All right, so when you come across some of these allusions, you want to ask yourself, what do they want me to understand? What are they trying to connect? Okay, what's the purpose? What are they trying to create in here? Is it a comedic effect or is it something thematic? In Steinbeck, one of the allusions he does use, besides the one we're going to really focus on, is the idea of Curly being a Gold Gloves champion. It's a reference to a popular boxing award, and it explains a lot about Curly, okay, and who he is. And to him, in Curly's persona, being a tough guy, being a great boxer, that's what makes him who he is, okay? That's why he's so, still angry, and he'll probably always be angry that he lost, the use of his hand because it was crushed by Lenny. But this idea that he was a Golden Gloves champion to him is prideful. Okay, he's really proud of this, and it's part of just who he is. Okay, and Golden Gloves back then, boxing was probably one of the top 2-3 sports. You had baseball, you had horse racing, actually, and then boxing were probably three of your biggest events back then. And people knew the local Gold Gloves champion. Okay, so that's an important thing to him. In Steinbeck, the big allusion is the idea that Of Mice and Men, the book title, alludes to a Robert Burns poem, To a Mouse. Burns' lines, the best laid schemes of mice and men often go awry. And we see that in the novel. Okay, they had a plan. George, Lenny, even Candy comes in, and it looked like this plan could actually be achieved. But awry means things have changed. They don't go right. They go wrong. And they do. Okay? And this happens, chapter 5, when Lenny kills Curly's wife. We know that plan cannot come to fruition. These best laid plans is not going to happen. Okay? They go awry. So we're going to look at the poem today. And it's a difficult poem because Robert Burns is writing a long time ago. He's a Scottish poet. So it's not as easy to understand. Now, I did get a translated version, so that helps, but it still can be a difficult poem to understand. All right. But it is extremely important to gain a better an idea of what's going on. All right, so with every poem that you do, you always want to look at the poem, read it over, really delve into it. Don't just read, especially poems aren't that long. Read it a couple times, really get a feel for what the poem is trying to say. Okay, so as you read it, and try reading it out loud, have fun with it. As you read it to yourself, then read it again, read it aloud, have fun with the words. Do your best going over this assignment. I am going to, hopefully add some more to this. I'll go over with you, and hopefully you can understand some of the ideas. Now you'll notice I've broken the stanzas up. The poem on the left side that you're looking at, that's the poem. On the right side is the paraphrase. A paraphrase is just put it in your own words. And I'm just going to add that to here. I don't think people know what paraphrase is. Everyone knows what that. Put it in your own words. That's all that means. So, sleek, tiny, timorous, cowering beast, why such panic in your breast? Why dash away so quick, so rash, in a frenzied flash, when I would be loath to run after you with a murderous plow staff? All right, so that's the first stanza. Read all of them, okay? Then go back, do your best. What is it trying to say? All right, I want you to try this the best you can. All right, and then we're going to go over this, and I'll post another video going over this. But take a moment, really do your best. All right, now the poem's name is To a Mouse, so keep that up. Keep the idea that this is an allusion. We're going to be coming back to this. It's going to be something you're going to see on the exam over of Mice and Men. So you're going to paraphrase this as best you can. And basically, what this poem again is doing, you have a farmer, and the farmer is, getting up the crops at the end of the year. Winter is coming, so keep that in mind. And he's talking to a mouse. So in that first stanza, sleek, tiny, timorous, cowering beast. That's a mouse. Why such panic in your breast? Why dash away so quick, so rash, in a frenzied flash, when I would be loath to run after you with a murderous plow staff? The idea is, why is this mouse so scared? The farmer is thinking. Don't run away. I don't want to hurt you. We both live off the land. I will not run over you. Now, hence we know the mouse doesn't know this, okay? I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union and justifies that bad opinion which makes you startle when I'm your poor earthbound companion and fellow mortal. So, because of what mice know or seemingly feel about men, they're going to run naturally. And what the farmer is saying, I'm sorry that you have this opinion about me. We're in this together, okay? I have no doubt you sometimes thieve. What of it, friend? You must live. A random corner and a shocks in small behest. It will give me a blessing to know such a loss. I'll never miss it. And this idea that, you know what, I understand you have to live. If you have to take a little bit of corn to survive, I'm okay with this. That's what the farmer is saying. Your tiny house lies in a ruin, its fragile walls wind-rent and strewn. Now nothing's left to construct you a new one of mosses green, since bleak December's winds ensuing blow fast and keen. So it's December. The plowshare has destroyed this house. The mouse has no place to live. It's going to be cold, and there's not many supplies out there in order to actually build a new house. That's what the poet is saying, okay? And so keep that in there. Since bleak December's winds ensuing blow fast and keen. Just wonderful wording there. I mean, I hope you can enjoy that, the wording and phraseology on that. You saw your fields laid bare and waste with weary winter closing fast. And cozy here beneath the blast you thought to dwell, till crash, the cruel plowshare passed straight through your cell. So the mouse is like, oh, this is great. I'm going to have a great place. I'm good. And next thing you know, the plow comes through and boom, destroys it. All right. The flimsy heap of leaves and stubble had cost you many a weary nibble. Now you've turned out for all your trouble, less house and hold, to endure cold winter's icy dribble and o'er frost cold. So now you're out in the winter. You turned out all this work that you put in to create this house, and it's gone, and you're turned out from it. Okay, so now what is this mouse going to do facing the icy cold, the bleak December winds, and the icy dribble and cold winter's icy dribble? Again, some great language. But, mouse friend, you are not alone. Improving foresight may be vain. The best laid plans of mice and men go oft awry, and leave us only grief and pain for promised joy. There is a stinging stanza. That is one. Now he is looking at, okay, I'm taking this from you and I'm looking at us and people in general. Mouse friend, you are not alone. Improving foresight may be vain. Like haven't, no matter what or how I look into things, something can always happen. Okay. The best laid plans of mice and men go oft awry. No matter how we plan, how we think things can go, and what every foolproof measure we put in there, a lot of times these plans don't go the way we want to. Okay. And that's what he's saying. This, promised joy that we had, instead we're ended up with grief and pain. And so you think of some of these things that we've had, and especially lately, you think of some hope, and right now it's pretty rough, but things will get better. I'm an optimist. So, but he's saying that, that happens quite often, not just to mice, but to men and women and all of us too, mankind. Still, friend, you're blessed compared with me. Only present dangers make you flee, but out behind me I can see grim prospects drear, while for forward-looking seers we humans guess and fear. So this is extremely important to wrap everything up. The mouse is blessed because the mouse is just living bite by bite, moment by moment. The mouse isn't looking into the future and going, oh, what am I going to do with my mouse kids? Or how am I going to pay for mouse college now? Or how am I going to get a house for my mouse family? Whereas we as humans are constantly looking in the future and thinking, oh my goodness, what is next? What's going to happen? How are we going to get through this? Okay. And it can be tough. All right. And that's what he's looking at, that just keeps sometimes just hordes over us. Now, I'm going to end this on a positive note. We've been very strong here throughout, and will continue to be strong, and things will get better. Now, Steinbeck didn't have that optimism that, I think we should have inherent, but Steinbeck didn't always look at things that way. And hence he chooses Of Mice and Men as the title. This is allusion to that line from this poem. The best laid plans of mice and men go oft awry. And no matter what we might be doing, sometimes our best laid plans aren't good enough. Okay? So hopefully that helped you with the paraphrasing. If you listen to that, it should. The other answers, the tone of the poem. How does it make you feel? Looking back at some words, okay? And that's good to try and decipher this word meaning as you're looking at things. And then the idea of theme. All right, so do that. And, if you have any questions, let me know. I will be happy to help you out. Thank you.